An NFL insider has proposed a crazy blockbuster trade for the Dallas Cowboys that could change the entire outlook of their season, so we'll break that down and much more on this episode of Cowboys Digest. Welcome in, everybody, to Cowboys Digest. I'm your host, Peter Vryonis, and today we're going to be breaking down the wild trade that was proposed by this NFL insider. But before we get into all of that noise and all of this news, I want to let you know that around 85% of you watching this channel are not subscribed. So go ahead, hit that sub button. It would mean the world to me, and we're close to my goal of 2,000. So thank you guys so much for the support. Really appreciate it. But let's get right into it right here. Robert Griffin III, none other than Robert Griffin III. If the New Orleans Saints continue to stink up the joint these next few weeks, the Dallas Cowboys should see if they are in sell mode and trade for Alvin Kamara. So that's a pretty big bomb that he dropped right there, and I don't know why the Cowboys specifically. I understand that there is no run game, but it feels like Kamara could definitely be shipped off to a team that is in a better position that might need some running help in the backfield, but hey, I'm not mad at it. I mean, the Cowboys are always going to be in on these rumors front and center, so I don't mind it. I don't mind the idea of having Alvin Kamara in the backfield alongside Dak Prescott. Now, if we go over here, Nick D'Angelo said Alvin Kamara has formally requested a trade and the Saints are headed for a rebuild with an extremely aged roster. Kamara has a $29 million cap hit in 2025 for the Saints in what would be the final year of his contract. Our sources confirm the following teams have contacted the Saints. At the top of that list, you have the Dallas Cowboys alongside the Buffalo Bills, which doesn't make too much sense to me since they have James Cook in the backfield. You got the Kansas City Chiefs, who have kind of had a carousel of running backs. I get that, but I don't know if they have the money to make this kind of move. The Broncos, who they just played, the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Cincinnati Bengals, who Jerome Ford has been doing pretty well for the Cincinnati Bengals. So of all of these teams here, the Dallas Cowboys definitely make the most sense, and the Saints are seeking a third-round pick or better plus a pick swap. That is not an outrageous price to pay. However, if I'm the Dallas Cowboys, I am in the mindset that it is better right now with the way that the team is playing to acquire draft capital as opposed to give it away. And I understand the frustration of Dallas Cowboy fans. I get that. I understand that the team has not performed well. I totally understand. But this team is nowhere near a Super Bowl, if we're being honest with ourselves. And we could continue to be delusional as Cowboy fans, but let's call it what it is. This team is very far away from a Super Bowl. They won 12 games last year. They got their asses kicked in the playoffs. They made some changes in the offseason, but not the changes that needed to happen. So they lose their defensive coordinator, they lose the majority of their defensive front line, and now they are dealing with injuries. So for them to give up draft capital, that third-round pick, I guarantee you, can definitely help them out on the defensive line, on the offensive line. That pick would be better suited being made by the Cowboys as opposed to giving up to the New Orleans Saints in exchange for Alvin Kamara, who has 1 year left on his deal after this one. I get the frustration. I get the wanting to have a superstar and another weapon on this offense. But at the same time, I just don't think a running back is worth that price for the Dallas Cowboys right now. That third-round pick, like I mentioned, can be better suited, used elsewhere. And Kamara is great, but you could get another running back in free agency. I don't know who it's going to be, but you can trade for someone. You can get someone in free agency when you're a little bit closer, when you feel like your roster is just missing that one piece. This roster is missing a lot of pieces right now, and Kamara is great. I would love to see him in a Dallas Cowboy uniform. It's been a conversation for years now, ever since he was a free agent the first time around. But I don't know, guys. I don't know. Do you think the Cowboys should pursue Alvin Kamara and give up draft capital? I don't. I personally don't. And we see here the Dallas Cowboys' need at the running back position is undeniable. At 3-3, Dallas's running game is the least productive in the NFL. Those facts continue to fuel speculation that the Cowboys should pursue help. And then you have Shaquille O'Neal urging them to sign Jerry Jones. And now Robert Griffin suggesting that they trade for... that they signed Leonard Fournette. Sorry, not signed Jerry Jones. That That doesn't make much sense. But there are people here urging the Dallas Cowboys to do something, and their running game is of huge weakness, but that's because they just don't give it a chance. Rico Dowdle ran for over 90 yards against the Pittsburgh Steelers. He was fantastic that week, and that's one of the best rushing defenses in the league. But what did they do? They stuck to a game plan. They said, we're going to try to run the football here, and if you stop it, you stop it, but we're not just going to be a one-dimensional team that airs the ball out on every down. That is not how you win football games against anybody in the National Football League. So what did the Cowboys do? They said, we're going to put it on the ground, and we're going to see if you can stop us. And Rico, in the second half, was unstoppable, picking up first down after first down, and he was their best player in that Sunday Night Football game. So I see enough out of Rico Dowdle to warrant more touches for him. And I don't think the running back is the biggest issue as much as the offensive line is. The offensive line is the biggest problem for this team right now. We could talk about the defense all we want, but they are not able to have long, sustained drives because they can't run the football. There are no creases that are opened up by the offensive line. There is no time for Dak Prescott to throw. So that unit has been god-awful this year. And Tyler Smith is great. I love him, but you need more than one guy in that line if you want to get anywhere. Zach Martin has severely declined this year. Tyler Guyton has not performed well whatsoever. Then you got Terrence Steele on the right-hand side, totally clueless. And at the center position, you got Cooper Beebe, who is not even a center in college. And now you're asking him to play the center position in the NFL. It's going to take some time for these guys to adjust here. So there is an adjustment period, and the cohesiveness maybe just isn't there within the unit, and that's fine. But to say that the running back is the biggest issue when we've seen them have success, I think that's wrong. I don't think overpaying for Alvin Kamara in a season where you have way too many weaknesses to even compete for a playoff spot is smart. And Robert Griffin, I respect your opinion, but I just don't think this is the right move for the Dallas Cowboys to make. And it's hard to say no to these kinds of stats here. Great rushing totals, great receiving totals. Like, he is a dual threat running back, and he can do it all out of the backfield. Multiple-time Pro Bowler. There is no doubt how talented he is. And he's still got a lot left in the tank as well. There's no doubt. But I just think the Cowboys are better suited keeping that third-round pick and making a selection to help out the roster for next season. I think they're going to be better off for it. Jerry Jones won't come out and say it. He'll say that he loves his unit and that they can compete for a Super Bowl, but he doesn't believe that, or at least I hope he doesn't believe that. And he won't say it. He won't say it publicly, but the Cowboys seem to be in a transition year this year. They gave their guys their money, the guys that they wanted to keep around, and then beyond that, I mean, it's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of moving parts, a lot of changes heading into next season. I really don't know what direction they're going to go in, but you could have afforded Derrick Henry. You absolutely could have afforded Derrick Henry in this offseason, but you decided not to do that. You decided not to waste money on someone that would have helped you in the current present time, and you choose to focus on the future, even though he's trying to sell this notion to the fan base that they are all in for this season. They're clearly not all in. Jerry Jones has said himself publicly that he's not willing to make any trades or fire anyone on the coaching staff. This seems to be a year where failure is accepted, and Jerry is still going to rake in his billions and millions and trillions of dollars, whatever it is. But the fan base is fed up. They want some changes, and they want them in the form of Alvin Kamara. Even the analysts are calling for the Cowboys to make some changes, but Jerry Jones is being very stubborn, and instead he is focusing already on next season and getting some guys back and addressing some of those holes internally or through the draft. But I don't know. I don't know what the best course of action here is for the Cowboys. I'm not a front office executive. I'm not an NFL insider. I'm just here to give my opinion. And if it were just me making this decision, I would say no. Do not give up draft capital for someone who is not going to move the needle as much as you think they are. And Kamara is great, and I showed you these stats right here. They are fantastic stats. He would absolutely make the Cowboys a better football club. But how much better does he truly make you? Does he stop the Detroit Lions from putting up 47 points on you in your home building. That's not on Alvin Kamara. Maybe he gives you longer sustained drives and he gives you a better chance in the red zone, but there are other glaring issues that this team has right now that would not be solved by this one player who is making a ton of money, by the way. $29 million next year, that's a lot. You can get out of it, but then you're basically just trading a third-round pick for a rental in a season where you're not going to accomplish anything. So Cowboys are in a tough spot right now. They're not bad enough to tank, and they're not good enough to win a Super Bowl. So where do they go? That's what we're going to try to make sense of in the next few weeks. But they got a tough test awaiting them next Sunday against the San Francisco 49ers. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays itself out. But that'll wrap it up for this episode of Cowboys Digest. Thanks, guys, for making it this far. Appreciate all the support. Make sure to hit that sub button yet again, because a large percentage of you watching these videos are not subscribed to the channel. But I will see you all tomorrow, and go Cowboys.